So welcome to 2014. We've just released the January version of the native VML mobile report. I think this year is going to be a very interesting year for the mobile industry. I think a lot of things are coming together quite nicely, and literally what's happened in January has certainly kicked some of that activity off. It's quite a chunky report this month because we include some interesting things about the South African election, which is going to be coming up in the next couple of months. But to start off, some of the interesting things around South Africa or Africa versus the global digital statistics that came out of a report in the last couple of months. Our internet penetration in Africa is 18%. Whereas in North America it's 81%. So there's a huge amount of growth that's still required in Africa. Also, the social media usage is still quite low in comparison to the rest of the year, which is to be expected, but still massive growth opportunities in Africa for internet. Another thing that's also become very apparent is the concern that large corporates have for users having smart devices, or their employees having smart devices in their offices. And virtually every organization is looking to plan some sort of restriction or control mechanism in that space, because security is obviously a big concern. So I think people in that kind of environment, or those offering those kind of services around enterprise device management, there's a lot of work ahead for them. Reports out of Human IPO in early January mentioned that there are nearly $20 million a year's worth of transactions through mobile money services like M-Pesa. So big growth there, up 24%, I think it was. Yeah, 24% over in the previous year, 2013. Some other interesting notes from Deloitte. Despite the increasing popularity of IM and instant messaging platforms, they say that the SMS is far from dead. It's one of the few ubiquitous services on mobile phones other than voice and USSD. But still, the 3.2 billion unique mobile subscribers that can send and receive SMSs. That's a lot more than people can send IM messages. The other interesting things we mentioned in the previous report, that there had been some initial tests around the 5G network, some tests that were done by Samsung. In true South Korean fashion, the South Korean government has put $1.5 billion investment into investigating and researching that 5G technology, which is going to be about 1,000 times faster than 4G. So just insanely fascinating, and the uses and applications for that are going to be immense. Very important for the South African market, AKASA has slashed the interconnect or termination rate for phone calls, which means that if a bigger network is receiving a call from a smaller network, they have slashed the cost of that. So it means that the smaller networks aren't as prejudiced. So that should be good news for the smaller networks in the country. Got some very interesting things out of Durban. Emerge Mobile, which is based in Mhlanga, has developed a smartphone-based mobile payment system similar to Square. Very interesting. So it allows you to take credit card payments from a little application, a little device that's plugged into the bottom of your smartphone. So very good news for South African development, and secondly for small businesses that need to take credit card payments on the go. Lots of other things that you can read for yourself. One of the things that I love is that Google is teaming up with car manufacturers to bring Android into cars. So the Open Automotive Alliance is really a group of technology and motor manufacturers that are going to help Android run the entertainment and in-car platforms for those vehicles. Tizen is a new operating system coming out of Japan. It's based on Linux, so very much for the open source community and people that are fans of having a much freer environment. That's going to be interesting. It's been spoken about for a couple of years now, but it has finally come to market. The Chinese are coming. I've said that a couple of times. Huawei and ZTE are certainly trying to increase their space in the smartphone market. And ZTE is aiming to be one of the bigger smartphone market providers into the US market, where they're hoping to double their market share within the next year. So with the scale and the manufacturing prowess that they have, I certainly think that they are an organization to watch, as are all Chinese organizations for that matter. Very interesting, South Sudan has had some very interesting 3D printing successes for people that have been affected by the conflict there, with printing of prosthetics, which is really taking fantastic technology to solve real-world problems. Google has unveiled a smart contact lens that can check your glucose level. So, you know, the conversion of medical and technology are certainly moving ahead. You can read about that as well. Then at the end of the book, as always, we've got some new LinkedIn statistics for some countries in Africa. So we've got Algeria with nearly 300,000 LinkedIn customers or users. Botswana, nearly 30,000, and Senegal, nearly 50,000, but there's all additional statistics there as well. And at the back of the book, we have got a whole section on the South African elections, where we break down each of the main political parties and their social media and internet presence, looking at what they do, how they do it, and how successful they are. So it's very interesting to see how the organizations are going to be using social media for the upcoming elections. As always, this report is available on the Native VML website of nativevml.com or native.co.za.